They call me Knight. Mr. Knight.
Nobody calls you that.
You can't prove that. Hello and welcome to the Nerd Card. I'm Phil.
I'm Chuck.
And we are continuing our series on the Disney Plus series Moon Knight with episode 2.
Yeah, which comes right after episode 1, which we did last week.
It sure does, Chuck. That's
insightful.
Incredible reporting right there. Really
Very
is.
insightful.
Very insightful. But, you know, this is a really cool episode. They amped up the action like
They did.
Crazy on this one.
It's not as slow as the first one.
Not nearly, but it starts out with Stephen Grant trying to piece together the night that just happened.
Yeah.
And figuring out that you can't wake up at a full sprint.
No. And then figuring out that you probably shouldn't tell people about what they're going to see on video when you're not sure that it's actually there.
Right. Not a good idea.
And so now he's, we already know he's Looney Tunes and he's starting to look full Looney Tunes as everybody else.
Right.
And that really sets him back. He gets done. One thing I was impressed with Oscar Isaac's English accent, he uses actual British terms. He got sacked.
Well, that's it. I got the sack.
He didn't get fired.
Yeah, he didn't nick anything.
I haven't nicked anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly. So it was, he goes in, he goes to the museum. He no longer is employed. And, as the episode progresses, we do see, and I know I'm jumping forward a little bit, but it was one of the interesting things to me in the episode was that we finally see Marc Spector in control and not Stephen Grant.
Yes.
At some point further down, after Stephen, of course, gets taken, by the, do you just let random people in with kind of flash kind of a badge? And
I wouldn't, but well, Steven's not your regular guy though, right? He's the nice, unassuming guy. He thinks he's going to talk his way out of it because
naive
he really
is the word you're looking for.
Yes, that's exactly the word I'm looking for. He's naive. He thinks he's going to talk his way out of it. He thinks, I didn't do anything wrong. This other Marc Spector guy did, and they're going to see that.
Right. Yeah.
But obviously they don't.
In the supernatural Jackal.
In the supernatural Jackal that only he can see,
right?
Destroyed the museum. So
and so he gets taken by the agents of Ethan Hawke, because I can't remember his character's name right.
Arthur Harrow.
Arthur Harrow. So the agents of Arthur Harrow, take Stephen to their compound in what used to be a bad neighborhood. He says, so says Arthur Harrow.
Yes.
And they, Arthur Harrow is a very, very interesting character and played very well by Ethan Hawke.
I can't, he's one of those characters that you just can't take your eyes off of him when he's on the screen.
Sneaky.
He's so very, just engaging.
He's engaging. He's got a charm to him.
Yeah.
He's very calm in the way he does things.
Very methodical.
Very pleasant, but deceptively bad.
Without a doubt. As he's going through his speech, you're like, that makes a lot of sense. Wait, killing kids? No, wait a minute.
Precogs, there's a Minority Report. Did you see that? That didn't work out so well.
Minority Report, yes.
Sorry, is that what you're all into that? Like killing children and that? So maybe that's just me, but I kind of draw a line there at child murder.
So you get to the point where he's kind of like, hey, so okay, cool. So you like my vegan soup, and we had good conversation. Where's the scarab?
Right.
Give me a scarab, bro.
And it takes a very ominous turn at that point.
Yeah.
With his multiverse cane. Starts attacking. Well, and it does. It looks a lot like the multiverse stuff.
It looks like the multiverse. Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
In Loki. And we saw in, of course,
Spiderman No Way Home. Yeah.
What's happening?
They're starting to come through and I can't stop them.
There's got to be something we could do. Can't you just cast the spell again? But the original way, before I screwed it up.
We're too late for that. They're here.
Exact same, exact same tone of purple, the exact same feel to the energy.
Yep.
And Marvel, of course, you know, they're very sneaky. Like Mr. Harrow, Arthur Harrow, and so of course that's what they're doing.
They don't do that on accident.
I would be shocked if that's not connected to the multiverse in some way, shape, or form. It has to be,
for sure.
I mean, that's what this whole phase is about, right? Is the multiverse. So that, as Phil, you observe, that has to be in. And Khonshu and these other Egyptian gods are just aliens from other dimensions that operate in Earth through humans.
There you go.
So what he's doing with that, with his multiverse cane, nice point, is that he's bringing in creatures from this other dimension to do his bidding and fight and take care of people, and Moon Knight can see them. And well, Mr. Knight can see them as well.
Yes. So that's the next part. Of course, the multiverse cane brings on this, you know, hellhound jackal demon
Egyptian
thing.
Jackal, yeah.
That brings out Stephen Grant's version of Moon Knight, which is Mr. Knight. He's wearing a nice suit. He says, I look sharp.
Yeah. Has no idea how to fight, but has the power of Khonshu.
What the hell are we wearing? I don't know. She said I needed a suit. Yeah, the ceremonial armor from Khonshu's temple, not Psycho Colonel Sanders. Well, I don't know how any of this shit works, man. I do look sharp, though.
Right. It has all the protection of Khonshu, too, which is very important since the jackal
otherwise
throws
he
him
would
out.
Be dead immediately because he can't fight at all.
Kind of got hit by a car. Like
hit by a car, hit by a jackal, but then he pulled the bumper off a car. And then finally, which leads to us finally seeing Marc Spector in control.
All right, do it. Take control for now.
Yes, and takes control in her big way.
Yeah, I mean, he becomes Moon Knight, and he goes whoops wholesale butt on our supernatural Jackal.
Yes,
and it was nice to see. That was the Moon Knight that, as a comic book reader, as a kid, as a 14-year-old reading Moon Knight, that I remember.
Sure.
And that's why I always loved Moon Knight. Moon Knight was my second favorite Marvel character. Which if anyone's watched our show for any amount of time, the nine of you out there watching the show know that I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite.
I love you guys. Thank you. All right, let's do this.
But Moon Knight was my next favorite individual character. You know, as a kid reading comics and collecting comics, my main people I collected were Spider-Man, all of his titles, all the X-Men titles of every kind, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the black and white ones to start, and Moon Knight. And then later Batman and some other characters. But Moon Knight was someone that I always was drawn to as a kid and really enjoyed it. And so it's good to see him now operating a little bit as I'm used to in the comic book, because they have departed quite a bit from the comic in the series.
They have. And actually, that's a point I wanted to bring up. Mr. Knight is definitely involved in the comics, but he's the more like public facing persona that, you know, Moon Knight puts out. And he is in the comics controlled by Stephen Grant, another personality of Marc Spector's. But Stephen Grant in that medium is a philanthropist. He's a multimillionaire, and he's the one that funds all of Marc Spector's activities. But obviously they've got the roles a little bit reversed in this one. But we do see Stephen Grant taking control of the Khonshu armor in a very, very different way. And I like the look of Mr. Knight. I think it was cool.
I thought it was really cool. And the more you look at it, I'm sure this series is serving as Moon Knight's origin.
Sure.
For his further use in the MCU. I suspect we'll see him in bigger scale movies. You don't sign Oscar Isaac, who's not an existing character, to do Moon Knight for 6 episodes, and that's it. That doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all. And frankly, they can tell a lot of stories with Moon Knight. I mean, he's an intriguing character. We've only scratched the surface within the MCU,
and these characters,
he's great.
Personalities have to coalesce and work together, and I'm sure that's part of what this series is doing too. Is going to make
certainly
Stephen and Mark work together along with Moon Knight, and then there's Moon Knight's a character, one of the personalities, and there's also a third that they haven't introduced yet that maybe they'll introduce in the series or not.
Right.
But I'm sure they'll make them all work together so that the Moon Knight can be a functional character in the MCU at large.
Well, and Chuck, you brought up an interesting point while we were watching it. We finally do see Khonshu.
Yeah.
His actual metaphysical form, I suppose. Not really his physical form, but we see him. We can see him instead of just hearing him. But there has to be a point where Khonshu's not calling the shots. He's not the one in charge. He's not lording it over them. Where Moon Knight has to have his own identity and has
to operate.
Yeah, has to have his own ability to actually control it in order to be useful to like the Avengers or within that Marvel universe.
I don't remember as a kid, and maybe it was there and I just don't recall it. But I don't recall Khonshu being prickly and Marc Spector not really calling the shots of what Moon Knight was going to do. It was more of like I remember being more of like an honor thing. Like I've been imbued with these powers by Khonshu to do what he wants me to do, but it wasn't such an overlord kind of thing. And it's more of an overlord kind of thing in this series.
I'll do whatever it takes, then you let me go.
I know that you enjoy the work I have for you. We need each other.
We have a deal.
Let me remind you, should we part, you may not like my next candidate. Near and dear as she is to you.
It really is. He's really, he's taking control. He has complete control over Marc Spector, and once this job's done, he's released, or I guess we'll see.
Or he stays on, whatever.
Sure. You never know. And that's all, of course, to get away from Layla being taken as the next Fist of Khonshu.
Which I think is just a threat by Khonshu to keep Mark in the role.
Could very well be. There's definitely a lot going on there. Chuck, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
Me neither. We're going to wrap it up on episode 2 of Moon Knight. We can't wait to watch the next one. Honestly,
it's a lot of fun so far.
It's a fun series. It's tackling a lot of stuff that we haven't seen on the MCU.
Well, new Marvel stuff. How often do you get actual new ground uncovered Marvel stuff?
That's a very good point. Either way, can't wait to see it next week. We can't wait to see you next week. But in the meantime, you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Spotify, all that good stuff. We are out there. Remember to share us with all your nerd friends so they can join in the party as well. And with that, we will say,
what's on your nerd card?